I'm just gonna present for like what, 5 minutes. After that, I'll start making the game. So this is a basic guide for game development in Godot. So the first thing that we'll talk about is obviously what is Godot. It's open source, so let's just say there's something in the engine that you don't really like. You can just modify the engine itself. That's something you cannot do in other engines because they're closed source. And the platform support for Godot is you can make stuff for Linux, you can make stuff for Windows, you can make stuff for even web games. You can even make like console games, but that's kind of tough work, but you can. It's easy to use. It's something which many beginners use, and it's all in one in the sense that you can make maps in it. You can like rig characters. You can do a lot of stuff in it, and it's extremely low requirements because the thing is there is a site online which allows you to use Godot in a web page, like literally the full IDE in a web page, which is insane. So I am going to talk about how to create a project. I'll just do that right now, actually. Okay. So I'm gonna just quit this and right. So I'm just gonna make a new project. I'm just gonna show you how it's done. So it's gonna create a new folder here, and that's it. I have created a new project. Here it is. So this is the UI. This is how it looks. I changed the colors a bit because I like this color. At the bottom left, we have our assets. At the top left, we have the scenes, the nodes, and I'm going to explain what they are a bit in a bit later. And at the top right, we have an inspector and our node. I'm going to explain what that is later. And in the beginning, in this center here, we have our viewport. This purple rectangle, if you can see it, is our viewport, which the player is going to see when they start up the game. That's it about the UI. So after this, yeah, step one of creating any kind of game, like I'll be honest, I always had problems with like see, I always started up Godot and I knew about how Godot worked, right? I know how to code in GD script. I know like how the UI works. All I really had to do was make a game. But I was always stuck because I didn't know how to actually, start with making a game. So yeah, this is the thing. You have to start with a genre, take inspiration from a game, gather information, and then you start building. So you need to think about what you're going to create first. Like, uh, I guess today I'll create something like a 2D platformer with I don't know, an enemy, and you can attack them. I guess that's what I'm going to create. Just have a clear idea of what you're making in your head before you actually start coding. That's all. And this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to create a world, and inside of it, under it, we're going to have a player scene, which is going to have animations, scripts for attacking and moving, and an enemy sprite with an AI. And yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm going to make this right now. So yeah, that's all for the presentation. I'm just going to make the game now. So you don't really have to code along with me. I'm just going to show you how it works. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a tile map where the world is going to exist. And that is, I'm going to create a 2D scene here. I'm going to call it a world right there. So in it, I'm going to have a tile map, which is going to be telling the computer which tile to show where. So I'm going to do that by doing Control A for creating new objects like this. Wait, what's happening? We good? Okay, cool. Uh, right, okay. Yeah, we're going to be putting a tile map here. And inside of the tile map, we're going to have a tile set. You don't really have to worry about all this. You'll understand it pretty well later if you just see the documentaries, which are really good, by the way. You should look at the documentaries. Anyway, I'm going to use this as one of the blocks, which I'm going to put all around the world. And I'm going to put this as, see, you don't really have to worry about what I'm doing now. This is going to come naturally to you later on. What you have to worry about is how I'm doing it. Like basically what I'm doing right now is I'm going to create a world using this. And that's it. That's the entire thing. Now I can just like, 1 second. Yeah. So as you can see, I can like just put this block here and just make my world. This is like a really simple way of doing it. And I don't know, I'll put this like here, here. Yeah, whatever. That's my world. I'm going to save this as world.tscn. And if I run this, It's gonna load up. And yep, here it is. This is my world, which I made. And as you can see, the viewport is exactly how it's supposed to be. The purple outline here. Anyway, so this is a world, but now we have to create a player. And for that, we're going to create a completely new scene, and we're going to instantiate that scene into this world. So I'm going to simply make a new scene. Okay, so this is where we're going to do a little bit of coding. But first, we're going to have to actually make the nodes here. So for nodes, the thing is, um, in Godot, actually, I have to explain this a little bit more. In Godot, everything works as a tree of nodes. So the world will be the root node. The player will be a part of the world, which is like directly under the tree of the root node. And the enemy is going to be a part of the world. And there's going to be like many instances of this if there's more than one enemy. Because everything is basically a node. Everything. The scripts, the AI, the attacks, the sprites, everything is a node. So we're going to be creating the player node right now. It's a player scene pretty much if you're taking into account every single node under it. So right now we're creating a player scene. It's going to have animations and scripts. So for the animation, we're going to have put sprite there. But actually, no, wait. The thing is, for making something that we can control, we need to put something called a kinematic body. And the reason I know that is if I press F1, it opens the documentaries, which is basically the most important thing actually in this entire ID, in this entire engine. In this, you will be able to understand everything about this engine. Literally everything about this engine has been documented here, and it's all available offline. So if you run out, like if you don't have internet, then you can still work with it, even if you don't know anything about it. So I'm going to type in kinematic body, and we're going to be working in 2D. So this is it. So this is a body. This is a body which is meant to be user controlled, which is why I'm going to be using this. So this body is going to be user controlled, therefore it's going to be a player, and that's exactly what I'm making. So let's go kinematic body, and I'm going to call this a player. There. Now, as I said, right now the player is literally just a single pixel over there. It doesn't really have a physical form. So I'm going to give it that by giving it a sprite. It's called a sprite. I'll just show you what it is in F1. It is a 2D texture. So it's basically going to be giving it a physical form. So I'm going to add that as a node under player. And that is going to be this. I'll just make it look like the Godot icon because why not? And it's also going to have a collision shape because there's no actual way for this player to interact with the world without a collision shape. Because when you look at this, let's see, I should go here. So when you look at this, it's just an image, right? According to the game, this is just an image. It's not really something that can interact with the world. So for it to interact with the world, it needs a collision shape. I'm going to add that right now. And you can see over here, this is like a warning mark. It's telling me that we need to put a collision shape. So we're going to do that right now. And we're going to have this be a rectangle because this entire image is a rectangle. And this should do. There. So now this player can interact with the world. I can instantiate into the world scene by doing this. Hmm. Wait, it's kind of black. Why is it black? 1 second. Okay, that's not strange, but whatever, it's fine. I guess the player is a bit black now. So if I play the scene right now, we can see that as the player, as we can see, it's just a black square over there. But it's not really doing anything. It's not falling down. It's not going left or right. It's because I haven't added any scripts right now, which is going to give it functionality. And this is where the coding begins. Actually, wait. That's why I wasn't working. I was in the wrong. Yeah, whatever. So right now I'm going to give it a script for it to work. And this is how you do it. 1 second. I'm sending a message. Okay. They're inside the map. Yep. I just noticed that. Anyway, so over here we're going to be adding a script, and in it we're going to be deciding everything about it. Like, first of all, we just decide about the gravity. Okay, every single object over here is going to be affected by gravity, obviously. So we need to decide what how the gravity is going to affect the player. So right now, I think the only thing we need is this much. So what this does is every single frame, this function is called, and delta is the amount of time that has passed from the last frame. Basically, that's the whole thing. And since this is being called every frame, we can ask this engine to make something happen every frame. For example, pull the body down because of gravity, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a variable called gravity and set it to 300 because why not? Then we're also going to create another variable called velocity, which is going to control how the player moves. And that's going to be vector 2, which basically means like a 2D vector. That's pretty much it. Because, like velocity is a 2D vector. Should be pretty easy to understand for now. So, as we know, gravity always, how to say it, it's an acceleration. Gravity is an acceleration. So, increases the velocity every single second, right? So, that's exactly what we're going to do, but for frames. So, for this to happen, we're going to do there. So it's going to increase the velocity in the y-axis by gravity units. That is 300 units every frame. And that's how gravity will work. And if I play it right now, nothing happens because I did not actually add the function which makes it move, which is called move and slide. Okay, there. And if I do this, there, the player has fallen. And yeah, so that's gravity working. Now we need to make it actually move. Like we actually need to make it move because of our keyboard because we need to control it, and that's not happening right now. So it's kind of lame, but I'll do it right now. And to make the controls, we're going to go to the project settings and add some input maps. And right, I'm just gonna add move left, move right, and jump. And I'm gonna set move left to A, move right to D. Like I'm just doing WSD pretty much. Right. So this is where we start checking for inputs every frame. So every frame we're going to be checking if this button has been pressed, if that button has been pressed. We see a little error here, but we can ignore that for now. So I'm just going to check if move left has been pressed. That is, if A has been pressed. There. So this is going to check if the move left button has been pressed. And if it does, we're just going to increase the velocity of the x-axis in one direction. And that we're just changing the vectors. That's it. Yeah, we're just gonna set it to 300. So if you press the left button, the velocity in the x-axis will be set to 300. It's not like we're not accelerating in one direction. We're just moving in one direction, which is why we're not doing plus equal to like in gravity. Because plus equal to is for acceleration, and just equal to is just setting the velocity. And I'm going to do the same for move right. Actually, see, move left. If you remember, like, if you know how graphs work, if you go to the left hand side of a graph in the fourth quadrant, because everything in the computer is in the fourth quadrant, if you go to the left, you're going towards the origin. Therefore, you have to make it negative. And if you're going to move right, then you have to go positive. And I'll just change that here. Okay. So if I do this, then I should be able to move. And I can see that I'm moving properly. That's perfect. So I don't know if you noticed, but I can't actually jump. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make that happen. So yeah, the basically the thing is the main point I'm trying to push right now is it's extremely easy to code this. Like just to make it move a little bit here and there, it's just 4 lines of code pretty much. And to make it jump, it's I'll show you. It's gonna be this much. And for making it jump, I need to pull it up. Like since we're in the fourth quadrant, if you want to pull it up, it has to be a negative y value. So I'm gonna put it as minus 400, I guess. That's fair, I guess. So I'm gonna run this. Let's see. Okay, I mean it's kind of working. So I think the gravity is a bit high. Okay, there's quite a lot of things that's going around here. First of all, when I press W, it's just pulling me up like as if I'm on a jetpack or something. So we need to make sure that we are only jumping if we are on the floor, and that's pretty easy to do. I'm gonna show you how. So just as easy as this. That's it. That's the whole thing. So if you're on the floor, it's gonna do this. And yeah, by the way, for anything that's related to acceleration, we're supposed to be multiplying this with delta. And that's because the thing is, we are basically moving by 300 units downwards in a single frame, which is kind of insane. So we don't want that. We actually want it to happen every second. And for that to happen, we just have to multiply with delta. So if we multiply with delta, instead of happening 300 units per frame, it's going to happen 300 units per second. That's pretty much the extent of y I put into delta here. And now it's going to be a lot slower. It's going to be like, let me check. Okay, I cannot jump. There's something about it. Let's see. What did I do? Oh, yeah. One more thing. To make is on flow work, we need to tell the game which side is facing up. For example, if you think of a Pokemon game, all the sides are walls, right? Like if you jump in a platformer and if you hit a ceiling, the game needs to know if it's a ceiling or if it's a wall. So for that to happen, we need to put something here called vector up. By putting this here, we can know that this basically this entire engine knows that vector dot up, that is the direction that's facing up, is the normal to the floor. It's kind of hard to get your head around it, but basically what this is trying to do is it's going to tell us that this is the floor. Anything that has a normal of vector dot up is going to be the floor. So if I'm on the floor, it's going to be setting my velocity to minus 400 if I jump. That's the entire thing, and I'm going to run this to show you how it works. As you can see, I'm jumping and I'm holding the W button, but I'm only going down I only jump when I'm actually on the floor, which it makes sense because you can't really jump in your midair. And one thing that which you may have noticed is I am just pressing B and it's not stopping. I'm pressing A, it's not stopping. So the easy thing is I just have to set the velocity to 0 in every frame until or unless one of my inputs has been changed. So I'm going to do this here. Like that, that should be enough. As you can see, I move to the left, I stop, move to the right, I stop, and it was right. Perfect. So I have moved that. Now it's left. Let me check. I've made the world, the players. I mean, there's no real animation here, but I've made the sprite, the script for movement, and there's one I need to make for attack, but there's no real point of making that if I don't have an enemy. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make an enemy now. After, I think I pretty much finished the movement for this. One second. Oh yeah, it's over here in project settings input map. It's the same in every game. So once you do this once, you'll know how to do it every time. And fine. Okay. So yeah, this is how you do it. Just type over here. Just type in your action. Like you can name it anything. It's just gonna show up over here after you're done. So then, yeah, that's it. Anything else? Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm gonna make the enemy now. Because I think we've made a good map and we've also made a good player. I think the gravity is a bit low there, don't you think? Yeah, the gravity is a bit low, so I'm going to increase it a bit. And for that, all I have to do is this. Let's see. There, the gravity is better, but my jump is pretty bad, so I'm going to increase my jump now. Let's see. That feels much better. As you can see, it's much better. Let's see if I can make that jump. I made it. Easy. Okay, good. So now it's time to make the enemy. Now comes the fun part. I'm going to make a new scene for the enemy. And this is going to be an area 2D. And the reason I'm using this in area is because an area 2D will help us figure out if something is come inside our body or not. That's not very bad. See, it's basically going to tell us if something has touched the enemy or not. And if something has touched the enemy, then it's going to then we can use signals which tells the entire world if something has touched the enemy or not. And if it has, then we can simply queue free it, which means we can remove it from the world. Basically means that we can kill whichever thing has touched the enemy. Basically, I'm going to create an area 2D for the enemy. I'm going to show you what it is right now. There. It's a 2D area for detection and physics and audio influence. Something that's going to tell us if something has entered the body or not. Because we need to figure out, like, see, what I'm trying to make right now is something like if you've played Mario, I'm making a mushroom, pretty much. So I'm just trying to figure out a way for the mushroom to detect if Mario has entered the mushroom or not. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. So for that, the best thing would be to use Area 2D. That's what I'm going to put in the root node here. And that's our Area 2D. I have to add a sprite. Just like a player, I have to add a sprite and a collision shape. So I'm going to do that right now. Right. I'll just make the same thing here. Maybe the guy look like this, but he's going to be like slightly red, I guess. So you know he's an enemy. And the collision shape will be a rectangle, just like the player. Now I'll set it to the most accurate it can be. There. There. Now we just have to code it a little bit. So the first thing I have to do is set a path for it. No, actually, the first thing I'll do is set to see if, yeah, it's going to check if the player has entered it or not. That's the first thing I'm going to do for the script. So I'm going to make an enemy script. I'm going to call this an enemy here. Right. So over here, I'm going to check if the player has entered this body or not. And for that, there should be a node right here, a signal, I guess, called body entered. So basically, this entire game works on signals. If something happens to a certain node in any part of this tree, then the signal will be sent out to every other node. And depending on which ones are connected, you can connect them using like the root node. And depending on which one is connected, we can figure out basically like ways of these nodes to understand if something has happened to this node, basically. So right now, what I want to do is make sure that whenever something touches this, they get destroyed. And it really doesn't matter. See, the thing is, if it touches the tile map, like a part of the world, then we don't really want to destroy it. We just want it to be destroyed if it's the player. So if the player enters the enemy for some reason, then they will die. So that's what I'm going to code in right now. And for that, I'm going to be using signals. So basically, once a player enters the enemy, they're going to send out a signal to everything. But the world will be pretty much the one who receives the signal, and they're going to be the ones who are terminating the player. That's pretty much the entire hierarchy right now. So I'm going to create a signal first. A signal called attack. If anything comes into the enemy, then they're going to be emitting the signal. So this is what's going to happen. Whenever something enters the body, like basically to get to this part, or to go to enemy and then node, this is where all the signals are. So if something enters the body of the enemy, then this function gets called, right? So we need to check if this is a part of the world or if it's a part of the player. And we can figure this out if we do this. If you remember, the player was a kinematic body 2D. So if the body which touched the enemy is a kinematic body, then see, if you remember, the world is a part of tile map. And I'll show you this thing again. If you see the documentary over here, I don't know if it's visible, but it says that it's emitted only when a physics body or a tile map enters the 2D area. So a physics body, sorry, is like it's either it basically, you know what, basically a physics body is a kinematic body. So if a kinematic body enters the enemy, and if it does that, it's going to emit the signal attack. Makes sense, right? If the person who enters the body of the enemy is a player, then they're going to emit attack. That's what we're going to do. Uh, right now, this is just for the enemy. So now we need to connect this to the main world. And to do that, this is pretty easy. I'll just go to world here. And I'm going to create a script for this so that I can actually connect it. And here, I'm going to create a world script. It's going to have, let's see, what's going to have? Yeah, the connection, the connection code. It's going to be placed on ready. So basically, ready is executed whenever the entire tree is ready. So I'm going to do this right here. It's going to see, okay, I haven't instantiated the enemy player here. I'll do that here, and I'll just put the enemy down here. Okay, right. I'll just call this an enemy. Okay. So if this player touches this enemy, I want this player to be destroyed. So for that, I have this script over here, which is going to do that for me. Uh, Once it's ready, it's going to connect the signal. But for doing that, I'm going to do this. It's going to connect it for the signal called attack. That's a signal name. It's going to connect it to the target, which is the player. And inside of player, it's going to execute the method called death. Right. So this should not have, okay, this is no problem. So right now what I've done here is it's going to take this attack signal from enemy, and it's going to, whenever this is seen, it's going to execute the death function in player. So right now we don't really have a death function, we're going to add it right now. And for this, we just need to make the guy disappear. And for this, it's going to be pretty easy, it's like 2 lines. That's it. That's literally it. Okay. So if I run this, it probably should work properly. Yeah, so I got killed, but there's no like that game over screen because I didn't play that time. So that's pretty much how it works. I made movement, I had a jump button, and when you touch the enemy, you die. So right now it's pretty static. This guy doesn't even move, so I'm gonna add some movement for this guy. I'm gonna make him go left and right, like he's patrolling. Makes sense, right? So I'm gonna go here, and when it's, I'm just gonna use a process function because that's gonna be easy for me. I'll just make it go for in position. So yeah, the thing is, in any of these things, you can modify all these values in the code. Since this is a node 2D, like I'll just show you in the documentary area 2D. This inherits collision object 2D, which has these things, which you don't really have to worry about. Right now we're looking at node 2D, which we can use to transform it. We can move it left and right, we can rotate it, we can scale it, etc. So right now we're going to go to enemy and we're going to move it around because that's patrolling, right? We're making it move. So if, yeah, let's start it. Okay, what am I doing again? I'm making its position go left and right. So we're basically changing this x value to go left and right, which makes sense. All I have to do is position dot x minus equal to some amount. Okay, so I need to have a variable for direction which determines which direction the person's facing, and I also need to add a speed for this guy. So I'll just add 2 variables at the top. This one would be speed into direction. So what's happening here is it's going to take a speed and it's going to multiply by either 1 or -1 depending on if it's going left or right, if it makes sense. So if it's going to the left, it's going to be like 100 to 1. If it's going right, it'll be 100 to -1. And this direction is going to be changed every time it hits a wall. And that actually is exactly what happens here. Whenever something enters the enemy's body, if the body is a kinematic body, it will emit attack. But if it's anything else, it's going to do once again. Yeah, it's going to multiply direction by -1. So it's just going to keep changing from 1 to -1 to 1 to -1. Let's do that here. That's it. So I think this one, I think I'm done. One second. Okay, let's see. I don't think there's anything left here. Let's just check. Okay, that's kind of, yeah, I think it's moving too fast. One second. Oh yeah, I forgot to multiply by delta. Okay, that's better. So yeah, it's better rolling. And as you can see, it's touching this and it's gonna go back normally. And if I touch it, I die. Okay, that's one part of the game done. So right now, what we made a world, we made a player, an animation, we've added some scripts. Well, it's not animation, but yeah, it's lovely. So we haven't added the attack animation yet, but hmm, is it? Should I do this? Okay, yeah, fine, I'll do this. So we have added the sprite, we have added the AI. So I think everything's done. I just have to add the attack script now. I'm going to show you how to get the attack script. So sorry, the attack animation. It's a site called opengameart.org, and it's going to have everything you'll ever need for making a game. Like usually, like you would want to make your own art for the game, but if you don't, if you just want to do some testing, I guess the best site to go to is OpenGame right here. So the reason I'm doing this is because I should probably start this. Right. So the reason I'm doing this is because I need an attack animation, like something which shows that we are attacking. So for that, I'm gonna add slash here. So I'm gonna use this one here. That looks like a slash. So whenever this is happening, it's gonna be an attack. Let's just have a symmetrical one. Okay. I'm gonna paste this inside of this one. Right. So in player, I'm gonna have wait, okay. I'm gonna have an area 2D for the player because we need to check if something entered the body or not. Same as the enemy. So we're gonna have an area 2D, but it's gonna be hidden. It's gonna be hidden so that it's only going to appear when we attack. That's it. So I'll just make an area 2D here. And same as before, it's gonna have a collision and a sprite. Same as before, I'm gonna import it like this. And the collision shape will be, let's see. This is how it'll look when you attack, which looks kind of cool. Let's have a, let's have a rectangle, I guess. I mean, like, does it really matter? Do this. So anything that touches this rectangle, you know, no, I'll have a capsule actually. Capsule is probably better for this. I'll rotate this by 90 there. This. Okay, whatever, it's good enough. So if anything touches this, then they will get attacked, I guess. Let's see. Now, area 2D. If anything enters this body, then connect it over there. This is going to emit a signal. Okay, wait, first of all, Okay, this actually needs a lot of coding. I just realized. Should I even do this? Okay, fine. I don't think it's necessary because it's going to take a lot of coding. We'll have to put okay, I'm just going to tell you what we need to do. In the beginning, we need to put a ready function here. We're going to be hiding this because it's only going to appear when we attack people. And over here, when we attack people, and if something enters the 2D body, that is, if it's an enemy that attacks the 2D body, then it's going to be, in that case, we're going to delete the enemy or anything that touches it. And in here, we're going to be checking if it's an enemy or not, something that entered the 2D body. If it's an enemy, then we delete it. If it's not, then we just leave it as is. And we're going to be having a signal here too. So the signal will be sent over to the world, which is going to be deleting anything around it if it's an enemy. The same way as this, actually. So it's going to be .player connect. And it's going to be whichever the signal name is, and so on. By the way, I think that's it actually. Like, I don't think taking too much time here is going to help. Because see, right now, I think I've probably like what do you call it? Went over the capacity of information because I think I spoke too much about the code without explaining most of it. But see, the entire thing is making games in Godot is extremely easy. That's the entire point I was trying to make with this. And yeah, I think there's not much else to say. So I think we can end the session here. If anything, if anyone has any problem or any doubt, you can just ask me.